Okay, this is video number 11 on the backpack, and I just want to make a note here. This is on the back. This is where that curve was, and you can see that it is kind of straight. I ended up getting a little bit of a tuck there. In order to, if you're making a skirt, especially, it doesn't matter on this backpack, but if you're making a skirt and you don't want the seam to look that messy, what you need to do is when you rip out the inner seams, just go up further on the back seam than you normally would just to rip out the U-shaped seams. Go up further and then fit it all together. But here we are at the straps, and you can see I've got them attached at the top. I've stitched those on. For added strength, I have stitched them 3 times, but I could stitch them down here too for added strength if I want. What I did was take my 6-inch piece. I've attached the D-rings. I took a piece of chalk and poked through here and made a mark on the inside, and I'm not sure yet how close I got. But then I reached in through the top. I removed a pin from the bottom section so that I could get this through there, and now I have it pinned here. That's not my mark. My mark is on the other, on the inside of the fabric. But you can see how I have that like that. So now this is basically done, except for sewing the bottom. And the reason we're doing the straps like this is so that they get pulled into the stitching of the bottom. So now we turn it, right side out. And this is the pinning that we did earlier. And what I'll be able to tell is how far off my chalk marks were. So there's my chalk mark, and there's where I have the strap coming through. And there's my chalk mark, and there's where I have the strap coming through. So now I just have to repin this, make sure that this gets caught when I sew the bottom. I have this held in place by a pin in there. So I'm going to pull that pin out, re-pin just this section, and put this under the needle and go right around the bottom. And like I said, what you need to make sure of, that you capture all the edges. So even though it looks easier to do it from that side, in order to make sure that you have all the edges, it might be easier to do it from this side. Because you already know this is smaller because you've got extra corner room. And I would still do almost a 5/8 seam allowance all the way around. So let me get this in the machine. My camera will stand up. And just to make sure that we don't lose any edges, pin out of there. And so I want to pin this like this. Now my strap end is in place so that when I stitch, that's going to be caught. I do the same thing on the other side. And I can add a couple of extra pins back in here if it keeps everything together. Now, what I would do, I'm only going to do this once, if that, because, you know, I'd like to show you the finished bag. But what I will do later is go around this a second time. So here's like a tower of fabric, and I need the tower to be in the middle, and I'm going around that tower. Kind of a new way of thinking about it. So that's the best way to ensure that you're going to get all the edges. Some machines don't mind going over pens, and some do, so keep that in mind. So now we're at one of the corners, and let me just this down so that you can see there's that triangle of extra fabric. Let me back this up a little bit. It's not really best for viewing doing it this way, but it's best for sewing. So I think the fabric might be in the way. But now you get the idea of how to go ahead and attach the strap through the bottom while attaching the bottom itself on there. And remember, you were easing in some extra fabric in a couple of areas, and you may need to continue to do that. So I'll just go around this once and leave the pins in, but I'll be able to show you what the backpack looks like. Now I was thinking this actually makes a very big, roomy backpack. So feel free to adjust the sizes to a smaller bag if you want. I mean, you could buy smaller jeans at a thrift store. You don't have to use your own jeans. You could buy, or you could buy bigger jeans and make them bigger. With a kid's backpack, you'd probably want smaller jeans. So there we are. I'm around once, and I'm going to go around at least another time, so I don't need to backtack. I'll leave the pins in there for a second. And you want to check it like that anyway. Leave your pins in and check it before you take them all out, because you never know, you may have made a mistake with where the straps are or something, and you may need to rip something out. Now the pins are holding a little bit too much fabric together right now, but that worked out fine. This is all, that's because it's pinned. That'll all release and will fall more naturally when I take the pins out. But it's done. So then you attach the straps through there to the length that you need. And I had taken the rope off of there. But there it is. A backpack from jeans.